Welcome back to Saga 3 Kings, session number 42, entitled The Ruby Eye. Last session, the group continued their travels after defeating the dragon Freemas, also known as Hornbeck, also known as several other names we won't get into. After defeating it and being quite worse for wear, to say the least, they were surprised to note that Calareth was in the town of Barad and approached the fallen dragon. He stated they could raise arms against him or they could let him do as he pleased. There was some tension. There were some efforts, and those efforts were derailed by the efforts of others. Ultimately, Calareth came for what he wanted and left with what he desired, which was the heart of the dragon. The group then rested and traveled up the mountain, ran into Donovan Sloan, the swordsman, known to only Raya to be or pretty sure, he's pretty certain now at this point, that Donovan Sloan is the heir to the Throne of Fire. Donovan split with the group, having to engage in his business, dealing with the dragon spawn and armies of the dragon. Now headless, probably easier to deal with. And the group was left in the care of a giant, frost giant. The frost giant in question is wearing kind of a silvery armor, and he has a spear and a sword. Based on his dimensions and the size of the sword, you would presume that this sword functions as a bastard sword or a hand and a half sword. And his spear is a long spear. He has a helmet with red kind of frock. The feathers are very important to onlookers, mainly because of their color, very fiery red, with kind of orange kind of patternings through it. They seem to kind of gleam in the sun. Brent, your character, Brooklyn would know that these are phoenix feathers. And the presumption is with the nature of the way that the helmet is crafted, they were probably put there intentionally to serve as kind of a last-ditch effort or gift of a second chance. He tells you that his name is Imgrund of Ishwindir, or sorry, Voshwindir, and I'll go ahead and type that in the chat. And he says, if you are tired, we can wait to travel through the Narrows.
I think we're all pretty good rested, ain't we?
Now, how far into the day were we?
You had traveled about half the day, so it was about just after afternoon.
Yeah, we're good for a little bit then.
Just afternoon, not after afternoon. I don't even know how to talk sometimes. Okay. Then he says, very well then. And he leads you basically back down the same path that you were heading up, to a point where you can see that there's a decline, basically a crevasse, that's very, very massive to you, but to him it appears to be comically kind of small, and he begins to approach the crevasse. As he does so, you can see the snow kind of breaking underneath his footfalls, and you can see other patches where it looks like others have tread through the snow. He comes to the crevasse and kind of places his feet down into it. And as you kind of stand there and watch this about 22 foot tall individual kind of climb into the hole, you can see that there are footholds for him, but they look like they would be more treacherous a situation for the likes of you. If you wish to attempt it, you can make either an athletics or an acrobatics check to platform down. Otherwise, you'll note that Imran kind of comes to a point and kind of reaches up with his hand, kind of gesturing for with his head for anyone to kind of come to it, to step into his hand for him to
Can I
move you.
can I just spider climb it?
Yeah, you can spider climb.
Okay.
The main issue is you're entering it from one side, and it looks like the entrance to the Narrows, this tunnelway he's talking about, is on the opposite side, which is a good 30 feet jump for you. Um, but if you crawl across him, you can get to the other side and descend.
That or is there a ceiling?
No, you're going into a hole, a crevasse.
How deep
Okay.
is that hole?
Looks like it's bordering on 200, 250.
I'm just gonna climb onto his hand.
Okay.
Yep, Benson would happily
Me
hop
too.
on.
If one person at a time, he kind of takes the first person, kind of lowers himself down, climbs down a couple of rungs in the foot laddering, and kind of sets you down on a tunnelway that kind of burrows into it. The tunnelway is about 30 feet high and about 20 feet wide, or 15-ish feet wide. You think it's pretty wide open. This is a pretty massive tunnel, but looking at his frame, you can see why they call them the Narrows. It looks like he's going to not so much be squeezing, but it's going to be a single file kind of walk for giant kind. He goes back up and continues to. He can take Benson and one other, but yeah, I believe Shambles can fly down, and Raya can kind of spider climb across the giant and descend down. You all eventually get into this tunnelway and begin walking. The ceiling being about 30 feet high, you can see that it is kind of perfectly cut into kind of a rondelled roof that kind of continues in. The walls appear to have painting on them. It doesn't look like anything in particular. You do see on occasion like a scene of hunters, blue skin. It looks like they are hunting a creature with a massive kind of trunk of a snout and massive white horns. And then you also see that there are other pictures that are pretty common where red skinned humanoids and blue skinned humanoids are clasping hands. Yeah. As you get further in, about an hour and a half or so passes, and he kind of turns back to you and says, "If you are tired, we can stop."
Those cave drawings, were they like giant height?
Yeah, so they're pretty massively drawn, but yeah, they're not drawn to scale. So you could misinterpret them as either or. Compared to what you presume is some sort of mammoth, they were about the same size. So you assume that they are giant creatures that are being depicted.
I'll ask him about them. Like, who are the red and blue characters here?
The peoples of Voshwindir and the peoples of Ashwindir. We lived on the sides of the violent mouth, now known as the Ruby Eye. A long time ago, well before my years began, I am told that the two clans fought heavily at the mouth of the earth, the violent mouth. That was until the bird of the sky descended from the heavens and forced us to listen to one another. In so doing, we learned that we all had a common source for our food. Something we knew before, but something we did not understand fully. Our greed and our self-perseverance, our desire for our own well-being, led to the demise of the others, until they were so willing to fight for their right to live. The giant bird made us understand that life, at least for us, is finite. And our ancestors decided it would be better to share the beasts than to squander them.
So I'm to understand you still have. He's out of character. He's Vashendir. I'm
Yeah.
to understand that you still have a a good relationship with the Alshundir?
We do. They are the ones that guard the Ruby Eye, where the egg of Haziel sits.
Very good.
So it's an egg. It's not like hatched or anything.
It is an egg. That is correct. We are told that every 100 years, the great bird known as Haziel can come to being. However, it has not come back to our peoples in at least 5 generations. And kind of thinking about it, Benson, generations of giants, giants being decently long-lived, it's probably somewhere to 500-600 years that he's probably referring to.
I would be absently saying that out loud, just talking out loud, thinking out loud.
Mm-hmm. And he acknowledges it, like he seems to kind of retort back to your statement. He's like, that is about right. And yeah, continues walking. Again, feel free to talk. Sorry.
So we're inside of a cavern right now?
It's basically just a tunnel, yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say no to a rest. I don't personally need it.
I'm still good. Yeah.
Might not be a bad idea to wait for sunup to go visit the steading.
Probably be safer and be more welcome during the sun, during the daytime. Travelers that come in at night are usually very shifty.
We have an escort.
And Boschwood Deer never sleeps.
And if we're so good, I say, we can just go ahead and go then. Unless somebody else needs a rest. We're all full, so.
Very good.
Just let us know when we hit day's end and we'll take our rest.
So it's getting kind of late when the pathway seems to end. At the end of it, you see a massive symbol. It appears to be a sun sigil with flames kind of erupting out from it in kind of a circular pattern that twists around it in a counterclockwise fashion. And above the sun symbol, a bird with massive wings. The wings' feathers seem to do the same exact thing, all twisted towards the same direction. Beneath the sun symbol, you can see a red-skinned humanoid figure raising a sword, and you can see a blue-skinned individual raising a lance, kind of up towards the sun. As he kind of approaches, he stops for a second and drops to one knee, which kind of a decent resounding thud due to his just girth, and he says a prayer in giant to the symbol. It doesn't take more than a couple of seconds, maybe 10 or 20, and then he gets back up onto his feet and then takes the left turn, which the cul-de-sac seems to kind of shuffle to the left. And I'm going to shift you to the map, and I think I'm going to change the music to something a bit more upbeat. While I'm doing that, you can see the map in its entirety, and he tells you that this is Voshwindir. Above you, you can see the night sky in spots. There are breaks in the ceiling of the stone here. Specifically, the main breach is over what's currently marked as number 11, which appears to be a waterfall coming from above, descending down into the cavern structure and hitting and flowing northward up into a cleft in the stone therein. When he enters in, he stops, kind of looks around, and he says, "If you wish to stay here," he gestures towards the building that you're first entering in next to, "there are rooms available there. The beds might serve. They may be a bit difficult to climb into, except for you," he says as he looks to Raya. He looks to the others. "If you're looking for something to eat, I'm sure they could give you something that would help you sup. But you are welcome to rest anywhere within." The main thing that you're noticing as you're kind of coming into this place is it's pretty cold. It's still frigid everywhere you go. He kind of says, "I will guide you wherever you would wish to be, but if you do not know for certain, I will be returning to my own home for the time being."
Imrant, if I may.
Hmm.
Would you know if it is possible for my companions, mostly myself and the half-orc, to acquire warmer clothing while we were visiting this area.
I would suggest that you stop at the. Um, he gestures, kind of points that way. Says a word in giant, which doesn't seem to grok, but he kind of points in that direction. But based on what he's saying, it sounds like it might be some sort of general store or something.
Sure. Thank you very much. We'll head that way straight away.
Of course.
I need an audience with the leader.
It is late. The leader is typically awake during the sun's cycle. I can definitely take you to his abode, and we can check to see if he is welcoming of guests at this time.
If he is, that'd be great. If not, it could probably wait until morning.
Well, let us go and check.
Benson, you want to come with me?
Sure.
Anyone else need anything?
You have a potion, right?
No, me and Grok have them.
Yeah, I do not have any healing potion.
What kind of potion?
Okay. The ones we
Yeah, me
found.
and Grok have them.
Giant strength.
The frost giant strength, yeah.
Yeah. Would one of you want to
Yeah, I'll
give
give it
those
I'll
up
give it
so we
up to
can
you.
turn it back in?
I'll
Bargaining
give
chip.
it to you.
So, as you're kind of moving about, you'll note that there isn't really much in the way of light present, other than the starlight that comes in from above. But every so often, like in the shadows off in the distance, you can see kind of a shadowy figure kind of moving, very massive figure kind of moving about, as a regular person would be walking around town, not too terribly noticeable, but because these are giants, you can hear them well before you can see them. They are lumbering, and the stone kind of has a nice kind of echo to
We
it.
can all see.
Oh, no, you can only see so far. These squares are actually only
okay.
20 feet. The squares are
Okay,
10
I was
feet.
just making sure you remembered our goggles.
Yeah, you're not able
We
to
had
see
our
super
cool
far,
thing
so
on.
like outside of your sight line, it's like you can kind of hear something and see the shadows in the starlight. But if that said, Brooklyn, Shambles, Grok, you three are going to the tavern.
I thought me
General
and
store.
General store.
Haberdashery.
General store. Okay, and then Raya and Benson, you're being taken to the leader's estate.
Yep. And
Okay.
Raya also has my potion of giant strength.
Certainly. You can see as you move, Raya, and I'll go ahead and point out the direction that you'll be kind of going. The giant kind of crosses over this bridge, and then heads kind of southwardly. The two things that you'll notice as you're kind of going in that route is that in the center, kind of north of where you kind of pass by, there's actually three things. There's a kind of rise up of stone about 10 feet high. There's a massive statue kind of in the center of the platform. It appears
14.
14, correct. It appears to be a giant kind of raising a blade up in the air, with a spear kind of set in the ground next to him, and there appears to be a flag kind of waving off of that. Not too much wind getting through, but seems to kind of flutter every so often. And then kind of sculpted onto his back, but like meant to appear as if it was behind him, is a massive bird. It looks like everything you've been told about a phoenix to look like, a massive predatory bird. There's also a massive pillar that you pass by just on the other side of the bridge that goes from the ground level all the way up to the ceiling, which is, based on your massive dark vision, is somewhere around 120 feet high to the ceiling level. And then the waterway, something about it is very strange. It almost seems like there are stars or sparkles inside of the water as it kind of floats in its pool there. But as it kind of moves underneath the bridge, you seem to see less of that present. It's almost like ice crystals or something kind of silvery shiny reflecting the starlight. But yeah, he leads you around the way to 17, which is another kind of elevation. This one about 20 or so feet up. And at the top of it, you can see that there's a building that's kind of been carved into the stone. Standing out front are two frost giants, both with spears and massive square shields. They look like they're just flat panels of about a foot thick steel, and they just kind of look down at you as you approach. In giant, your guide bellows something to them. The one on the left of the two looks down and bellows something back to him. And he goes, "It was as I feared. I'm sorry, Master Mishrael. The guards state that the Jarl is currently asleep with his wives."
Nice. I'll meet with him in the morning.
Very good. He gestures back across the waterway. And then he says something in giant, a strange word. Should be able to service you in a place to rest. If you need me, he gestures across the way to number 8. That is where I will be.
You've got 4 number 8s on this map, just a heads up.
Yep. I'm specifically pointing at the number 8 on this side of the cave.
East.
Correct.
5 number 8.
Okay.
There are indeed 5 number 8s. You are not wrong.
I just found 2 more.
9.
There's 8. There's 8.
There's 8 8s.
There's 9 8s.
Yeah, there's...
Really?
Are there 10 8s?
Yeah, there's.
Where are
the
there
4
more
right in
8s?
front of us, the 1 right up
Never
there,
mind, never
the
mind.
3 and then the 3 at the top.
You would guess that 8s are residences.
I don't.
Yeah, anyway. General store, as you're approaching, you can see that there are 2 doors. One is very big and giant size, and then one is very small and you-sized. They are literally right next to each other. They look like they share the same common space, so the doorway is actually kind of Tetris block shaped. There's a sign hanging outside. Looks like there are 6 different languages written. You have Common, you have Elvish, you have Dwarvish, you have Giant, you have what looks like it might be Dwarvish, but you think it might be Goblin. And then the last one of the languages there is Undercommon. But they all say the same thing, or you presume they all say the same thing. They say Belgos's General Store.
I thought you were going to go with they all say closed.
That
Damn it!
would be
Every time.
hilarious.
We can keep going. It's barely even dark.
So, do you enter in?
Yeah.
Doors unlocked. Stepping inside, you can see that there is.
Use the big door.
We're gonna have 3 normies in a trench coat kind of thing.
Yeah, we're just a regular frost giant. What are you talking about? But if you enter in, you would see that there is a massive countertop that stands well above your sight line, somewhere around 12 feet. There appears to be a number of staircases that kind of run up 2 different points inside of the store. The store looks like it was built for a giant-sized individual, but it was also built for a smaller individual to maneuver around it with ease. And you can see up on the high counter, kind of not looking down, kind of sitting in the lotus position, a dark elf or drow, white hair, kind of leather attire. Doesn't look like armor so much, it's just kind of like a jerkin and like pants. And he has a green cloak on. As you kind of enter in the door, you hear like a clatter cling sound of a bell that strikes when the door hits it. And you see his eyes kind of open. They're bright purple, and he kind of looks over to you. He goes, "Ah, guests." And he pops up, goes down the stairs down to the other counter, hops down behind it, and says, "How can I help you folks?"
We're looking
You
for
must
some-
be Belgos.
I am indeed.
Like. Go ahead, Rutland. Sorry.
We're looking for some just something to keep us warm while we're up in the mountains.
So, when it comes to winter clothing in your size, I do actually have a plethora of options. He hops over the counter, kind of places one hand, plants himself over it, kind of leaps over to your side, kind of stands up next to you, and then kind of walks over to another side of the chamber. He then climbs up a ladder to about a 15-foot height, and then starts pushing things down. And you can see massive kind of winter cloaks kind of slamming down onto the ground. Massive for you, but you assume scraps for a frost giant. And he climbs back down. He says, "We have the displacer beast hide, yeti hide, polar bear. There are also," he kind of shuffles through, mountain cat. 7 gold for any one of these. Should be fine. More than fair.
How you doing? How you doing on money there, Brooklyn?
I'm doing okay right now.
Okay. Making sure you can afford this.
I'm not that broke, not yet.
Grok, you're just kind of shuffling around in there.
I was gonna look for some pipeweed.
So I was wondering, before we discuss what you just asked there, are you willing to come off of that cloak?
It's a grok.
Yep.
I don't think so.
50 gold?
Oh no, it costs more in blood than that.
100?
No, thank you.
Fair enough. You
It's a
said
reminder.
you said pipeweed, right?
Pipeweed, yeah.
We don't have too terribly much in regards to that. Make an insight check.
Okay. You sticking me around because I didn't sell them.
No need to roll.
17.
You already identified exactly what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
He heads back.
Could tell him where to get more of that hide.
He heads back behind a counter, comes out with a box. You can kind of tell that he seems to be pulling it from a shelf with more boxes, but seems to pull this specific box and only this specific box. Settles it on the table, pops it open, and he says, "The yes, this is sufficient. It's the only stuff I have in stock, which you can kind of notice probably lying." He says, "It's from the Gelida Woods. The goblins from there traded this matter for some feathers."
So Grok will be able to probably know the quality of the pipeweed, right? He's a person of the woods. He knows such things.
It's definitely very dry. And you, with your kind of tobaccos, dry is fine, but like, I mean, you don't want it to be like really super kind of like. It's the difference between like a pipeweed and like tobacco in a cigarette or cigar, and this is kind of leaning towards like the cigarette kind of dryness. It's
Got it. So
Don't you
Grok
have a
would-
humidor?
Grok would reach into his pouch and pull out his own pipe and his own pipeweed, which is much fresher, higher quality, and start stuffing his pipe with it and say, "No, thank you," and walk away.
fair enough. He shuts the thing and slides it off and back under the shelf, and he accepts coin from those who are paying for the cloaks, right?
Yeah, I got one.
7 apiece.
Take a polar bear.
All
I
right.
got somebody I like dressing like.
I thought the Displacer beast one would look the coolest, I'd say.
Yeah, it's kind of like midnight, kind of dark.
Right? You want to stick out in the snow? That's fine.
It does have a bit of a sheen to it, though. So, like, if you are, if light kind of hits you, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be beneficial there. But
I'm not stealthy anyway.
yeah, it's a shiny dark cloak.
While we're here, I'm gonna pull out one of those necklaces
Okay.
that we got and ask him what he thinks this is worth.
Oh, interesting. Kind of looks at it for a couple of seconds there, and then. Oh, are you trying to let these go, or?
Probably. Just trying to figure out a price for right now.
How many do you have?
Depends on the price.
Well, I'd need to know how many you have before I can kind of come to a price.
I got 10, counting this one.
Okay. I could probably give you 25 gold pieces apiece for each. Make an insight check. It's actually more than fair. You know that selling these to a jeweler, well, you'd probably get 1/10 the cost because they only want the stone and the metal. They want the raw materials. This individual is willing to pay you 1/4 the price. Normal selling price for jewelry would be 1/5 the price, unless you set up a store and sell them yourself. And he says after that, 25 gold pieces a piece or 50 in trade.
Let's see here. Yeah. Well, what else do you got in the store?
Well, I understand that it'll be a bit hard to look around. So if you have
Yeah.
something that you're kind of gesturing at the high shelves and whatnot, but if you're looking for something in particular, I can definitely point you in the right direction as I did with the cloaks. You seem to be adventuring types. I assume that you're probably keen on magical accoutrements and gear and the like. Just based on your grizzled turtle friend, I assume you're hardy folks who are often wounded. So healing potions might be something you're interested in. Am I wrong?
Not really, no.
No, sir.
We could take-
He pulls out a case, pops it open. Inside there are exactly 10, 5 and 5 in a line, kind of in this box. Fresh healing potions. You can see the marker on it. It seems to be that these were crafted in the capital city. And he kind of looks to you and he says, "Fresh from the capital, received just a 6 day ago. I'll trade you your 10 gemstone necklaces for this box, if you're interested. Or we could do 1 for 1, or 3 for 3, 5 for 5, whatever."
Yeah, I think I'll do the trade.
10 for 10? Slides that over to you. Is there anything else that you happen to be looking for?
Off the top of my head, not really. Not that I can think of right now.
Well, very good. If you change your mind or can think of anything, I do have a decent number of curios within. It is called a general store, but that's mainly just to appease the. It would be called a curio shop. And just the way he says it kind of sounds like he's spelling it double PE. What? But alas, the property was already present.
You're kidding. You didn't build this.
I've made some modifications.
Belgos, you're alright.
You're not so bad yourself.
Thanks, man.
Um,
I want to try on some giant hats before we go.
As
because
you're-
I'm pretty much done.
as you're about to leave, he says, "Wait, I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry. What was it?" Specifically, asking Shambles.
I'm Shambles, the Scarecrow.
It-
Pleasure to do business with you.
Do you mind if I talk to you for a second?
Yeah, what you got? What's going on?
Kind of gestures for you to kind of lean in so he can kind of whisper to you.
Yeah.
When he gets in there, he kind of goes, "You are undaunted, right?"
To my knowledge, yes. I don't fully understand what I am, sir.
Fair enough. Well, I know for a fact that about a month ago, some strange folks not unlike you came down into the Narrows and were heinously destroyed by the militia present here in Voshvindir. A couple of their ilk were left about, and I think one of them is currently hanging up in the rest stop. But I would be wary. They may ask you questions, but just be aware that they're the last encounter they've had with your make and variety wasn't a pleasant one.
Oh, I understand. It's totally legitimate thing to be concerned about. My last encounter with things like me did not go great. So.
Well, they're a bit different. Here, hold on a second. I'll show you what I mean. And he kind of
Oh, okay.
gestures for you to follow, like, around the counter. And
Yeah,
then
I got a few minutes.
you see him go up to a curtain and kind of pull the curtain back. Everyone watches as Shambles kind of goes into the back with the drow elf. As you enter into it, you can see there's like a bunch of just stuff in here. Looks like a lot of workspace and tools. And you can see that on the far wall, kind of like sitting on a stool, kind of slumped in the corner, is an Undaunted. Definitely a frame you haven't seen before. It looks like a number of their parts have been kind of crafted over with crystalline material. It's not too dissimilar from the axes that the Berserkers had. And he kind of nods and he says, I managed to get one. And he kind of grins at you. But that's what they look like. So you do look a bit different than them, but some of the frost giant folk around here aren't exactly the brightest bulbs in the law.
I'm sure I could talk my way out of any trouble I run into. I'm a world-weary traveler, you know.
Fair enough. Yes, and I just, again, a warning for you to be prepared, just in case.
Your warning is more than kind. I do appreciate it.
He nods his head.
Yeah, fellas, let's go find our pals. Unless you guys are buying more.
Nope.
No. Heading back out into the town proper. Again, looks like most folks are kind of heading towards the number 8s. I said I was going to change the music, and I never did. But you head towards the tavern. Am I right?
If I'll go there.
Okay. So, getting there, everybody kind of reconvenes. You'll note that the establishment is kind of split in two. There's like the kiddie table, which is a series of small, normal-sized tables. There are also a couple of stairs that go up to kind of a area where it looks like half a table would be giant-sized and half a table would be human-sized. The bar appears to have a similar kind of split to it. You can see that there is a female fire giant behind the bar, and there also appears to be a female gnome with bright red hair, also kind of standing on the bar, walking around and making sure cups are filled.
What does she look like?
She's a gnome, kind of fair skin, bright red hair that seems to kind of stand up on its own and kind of puff back. It's very wavy, the hair, almost like her head is a bonfire. She's wearing robes. Yeah.
How tall is she?
Probably about 3 feet tall. And so her
Hold
standing in the shadow of the 16-foot tall giant.
Is Benson staring at the gnome or the giant?
The gnome.
Gnome.
Definitely the gnome.
Yeah. The fire giant's hair is actually fire. So
That seems like a better.
yeah, the gnome's just appears to be fire-like.
So out of context, out of character, I mean, are we all trying to play wingman for Vincent right now?
Oh yeah.
Yes, we are.
The name of the establishment as you're entering in seems to be called the Big and Small Flame. And yeah, you can see that it's decently packed. I mean, it's late, so you weren't really expecting to see many people, but there's probably about 5 giants sitting at tables 2 and 3, respectively. And then there's actually a couple of human travelers who are present. It looks like 5 of them. They're kind of knightly bearing, and they're kind of sitting to themselves. But
I
yeah,
guess we'll. Are we going to a bar? Or are we gonna try to find a table?
I'll wave to one of the bar maidens.
they're
See
at
if
they're kind of at
gesture around.
the bar, and they kind of, you gotta come over here and order. And then you see
Are
her.
there a lot?
Wait,
What number building is this?
this would be number 10.
10.
Are there any people in the little small people tables? Or
There
is
are
it just
5 knights sitting at a table by themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Do we recognize them at all? Like,
They don't seem to have much in the way of iconography, like or heraldry. They just have a very knightly bearing to them.
Okay.
You watch as the gnome kind of stands next to some pretty massive cups, and as the giant kind of pours drinks into them, and then once they're all done, you see her kind of like slap her hand down on the ground and start kind of casting a spell. You see a purple disc kind of rise up from the bar underneath the cups, and then she goes catch in giant, hits the disc. The disc flies across the room to the three giants, stops over their table, and then drops down and settles their cups down. They go ah and start drinking.
After seeing that, just like the little thing she made
Yeah.
that rose up, something rose up in Vincent and cracked his fingers and goes, well then, I found my target point.
Guess we're going to the bar.
You little pervert. I'm in love.
I strut over.
Okay. She sees you approaching, and she starts to descend
Watch
down
and learn, boys.
from the high counter to the low counter, and she goes, ah! And then as she hops down, she kind of stops and she looks at you, and she goes, the hand of Mudis.
Woo! What?
She grins, and she kind of reaches under the table. Are you more of a wine or an ale?
Oh, absolutely a wine, my dear. And I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. What is your name?
She pulls out a bottle and sets it on the table, and then pulls out a single glass and sets it next to the bottle. As she's doing that, she looks at you and she says, I am Isi.
I sure hope you are.
You sick
do you
fuck.
have
Nice
you-
job.
do you happen to have any chicken?
No, we don't have much in the way of...
That's sad, because if you did, you would be absolutely impeccable. I'm just saying.
She
You are amazing, my dear.
She
I
kind
quit.
of...
We call the session now, right?
Everyone throws their
Yeah.
hands
This is
up
good.
and walks out. She kind of looks at you and she goes, and she kind of leans in and she says, I just want to make sure I understand correctly. Am I being flirted with by one of the most powerful mages in the region?
I mean, we all have our weaknesses, and mine are beautiful ladies, of course.
Well, me too. And she smiles.
And
She,
I
stop for a second. Hold
and-
on. Make an insight check. When you say, I have a weakness for women, she says, me too. Yeah. she
24.
She kinda-
Oh
she kinda-
no, man!
she kind of gives you one of those let down easy kind of looks. And
I really wish that was the one.
I have no idea. I'm gonna keep trying. But yeah, you definitely
Oh
pick,
yeah, no, absolutely.
you definitely pick up what she's putting down. She
Fine.
yeah. And
Well, that is very good. I'll take my wine and my not chicken and leave.
she says, if you don't mind, I would love to peck-
Another one?
No, she's like, I'd love to peck your brain about your capabilities in the arcane arts. And you realize she continued the chicken motif of the dumb jokes.
Okay, I would definitely like that. Yeah, and I was like, absolutely. I'm more than happy to share knowledge, even though you don't want to share anything else. I'm fine with sharing the knowledge.
Fair enough. She kind of says, I might have some free time later this evening, but as it stands, we have quite the number of guests. And she says, enjoy the wine. It's on me. And then she kind of looks to the others.
Thank you.
And for you all,
Just,
As I drink it, I say, but it's not going to be free.
got him.
just something to drink, something to eat, I guess.
All right. Well, all we have in the way of food at current, she kind of looks up to the giant and then kind of bellows something. Her voice being way, way, way more large than you had anticipated. And the giant kind of looks down at her and says, "Roger, giant." And she says, "No, unfortunately, the current company on the other side of the room has already devoured the entirety of the mammoth we had on stock for the supper tonight. We have some bread, and we do have some berries and nuts.
That'll do. Anything to sate the hunger.
I apologize. We are hoping to have some hunters come back, perhaps with something. And maybe I can throw up a stew in a couple of hours. Who knows? But first things first, she gets your alcohol and the small amount of snacks she can kind of afford to get you out. But yeah. Anybody have anything else that they want to do in the tavern section? If you order a room from Isi, she will, set you up. The only thing that they have in your size is a common room with a total of 12 beds. You can buy out the entirety of the room.
We just share one big bed.
She says you.
That's fucking funny.
She says you can buy out the entirety of the room, or you can pay half the room cost to share your room with the gentlemen who are already present.
I'm gonna go over and talk to them anyway.
Okay. You walk over. Total of 5 guys in knight's armor. Looks like it's pretty decent. Steel plate, half plate and steel or full plate, kind of throughout the mix. Looks like some are lighter attired than others. Their underclothing is of a kind of beige color, like a dark beige color, and they all seem to have the same helmet kind of settled on the floor next to their chair. It's definitely of a very older style, but it is certainly Osirian. And they kind of look up to you. Hey, can we help you with something?
Y'all don't mind sharing a room, do you?
I suppose it's the current process for them. That's perfectly fine with us, I suppose. And everyone
Can't
kinda,
we walk into one tavern without all of us flirting with everyone?
So, what's y'all's business up in here?
Well, we are here on a investigatory matter. We've been sent from Bellum. We are a surveying company. We are actually with an individual who's already made ready to his bed, and he is the surveyor.
Grok would walk up behind Brooklyn with his cloak, and he sort of pull the cloak a little bit closer to him, like over his shoulders as he walks up.
They all kind of just sit there. What is your business here? They say to Brooklyn.
We're just passing through, trying to get up to the mountain.
It seems there's a lot of disturbance up in the summit of this mountain. So say the giantkin. We are not terribly interested in going up that way. This is our stopping point. This was our goal. The Iron Road would be hard-pressed to make it to this city, but the Council of Bellum was interested to see if it were possible. It would be a very difficult matter, to be sure.
It was a struggle. Alright then, I guess I'll see y'all up in the room.
Very good.
Do they have winter wear as well?
They do. So it looks like they have pretty heavy attire underneath their armor. And then they all have cloaks that are kind of draped over the back of their chairs. The cloaks in question appear to be very heavy linen, and they are also kind of a beige, dark beige, kind of brown color. They look like they are dressed very mundanely, and it doesn't look like they're trying to draw attention to them.
Okay.
Everybody ready for bed, I guess? So are we gonna buy out half the room, or?
Is this the same iron road they're building south of our town, over in Ludus?
So from what you understand, and I'll go ahead and pop us to the big map so we have an idea of that. What you have gleaned is Bellum is building iron roads out from itself. It's presumably connected via iron road to the capital at this point. One of the roads was being drawn up the King's Road, which is the road that goes from Bellum to Mudis, and then from Mudis up through the pass to the capital of Munio, the Valens area.
All the yellow roads we've seen so far, they're trying to put the iron road over that.
Yeah, the presumption is they'll fork out to Ursulon as well, in the Northrhine Plains, and then you've heard from Brooklyn, I believe, that the Iron Road does have plans to make it up from Bellum to Bansur, which is where he's from, and then further up to Bluegate. You did not know that it was getting this, or that they were surveying out this far, but apparently, even even Voshwindir is on the docket for potential destination locations.
Not anymore.
How much did they say renting out the whole room was?
So it'll be 5 gold pieces to rent an entire room, and if you want half the room to share with these individuals, it'd be 2 gold.
I would try to go over to Brooklyn and, without trying to bring up too much attention to us, I said, I believe I remember you saying something that you needed something ran through a legend lore spell. Do you still need that?
Yes, I do.
I believe it might be better for us to get a more private room to do that. I'm able to do that now, so if we want to do that before bed, I'd be more than happy to do that for you.
Do you have the materials for that spell?
I don't know. We'd have to find them. I doubt it. I'm just saying I'm able to cast it now.
Okay.
So materials-wise, we would need incense worth at least 250 gold, which the spell consumes, 4 ivory strips worth at least 50 gold pieces.
The ivory
50 gold
strips
pieces.
won't be hard here. The incense might be a different matter, but yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just letting him know that those are the supplies that we need. I'm able to cast it, and if he would, I believe we might want to do it in a more private place. So we might not be able to do it tonight, but when we do, just a heads up that I'm able to do that now.
We'll probably rest for the night and then tomorrow check it out and see if we can find the material.
Have to imagine I saw some tusks or something in the general
Yeah, you
store
said the ivory
curio
was
shop.
easy.
Belgos, or he is selling not
I'd
only
sort of
that.
drop that information on.
Since you went in the back room, Shambles, you would actually note that he does appear to have a lot of reagents, incenses,
And probably a lot
multiple-
nicer tobacco.
He definitely had much nicer tobacco in the back room.
I should have stolen some. I smoke too.
The only reason I say that we should do it tonight is that so that I would use the spell slot when I do the spell and then rest and get it back.
Ah,
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I was pushing that. We can wait till another day, but again, it is a 5th level spell, so I don't want to just use it without preparation.
I mean, we can. I don't know if the general store will still be open right now, though.
There's no way we're getting in a fight tomorrow. Just burn the spell.
Yeah, when you were at the general store, it didn't look like there was any hours listed or anything. If you want to go check it out, you can.
Elves don't sleep.
Elves don't sleep, and he was technically asleep when you came in.
If you want to run back with me, Shambles, we can see if we can convince him to get some.
I'm sure he has.
Because I don't feel like
We can't afford it.
I'm not-
It's like 250 gold is what he needs.
But 250 gold
Yeah.
cents, and then 50 gold apiece for the
4
ivory.
strips.
Okay, so we need 200.
Should've saved
Sorry.
Well, we need
Should've saved
4.
those necklaces, dang it.
400.
So
I thought it was an either or.
it's both. So
Oh, okay.
you need incense worth 250, which that's the spell's cost. It eats the incense. And then you need 4 ivory strips. Each ivory strip is worth 50. So you need 200 gold pieces worth of ivory and 250 gold pieces worth of incense. It's 450 to cast, but
But
each casting thereafter,
Ivory doesn't disappear.
he keeps the sticks. Those are basically his bed down for casting the spell in the future. But the 250 incense you're going to need every time he casts Legend Lore.
Well, I'm not the wealthy man of the party, so
Neither am I.
you're gonna have to talk with somebody who potentially carries a lot of money around. It doesn't tout that information.
Because
Grok.
he said the necklaces that I had were worth 50 trade-in value, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have enough for the incense, but that's the only thing I could buy.
Chody, I'm messing with your character sheet.
Okay, I was like, why did this stop?
Yeah, hold
My-
on. Hold on a second. Sorry, I forgot to do a thing, so I'm doing it right now.
I want to go to the general store too, just because.
I don't know if I
like
have that
general
much
stores.
that much money, Zach. I gave away that
I know
Raya.
you don't. I was talking about Raya. But
Yeah, that
Raya,
Raya piece
Raya,
away.
you gotta try on the hats. They're hilarious.
That does sound hilarious.
Have you ever seen a giant stovepipe hat?
Your
It disappeared.
I'm about to be inside
I
of one.
fucking disappeared inside it.
your AC doesn't have any modifiers, right? Besides the gauntlets you just got, right, Jody?
No.
Yeah. So
No.
cool. You're set. Sorry, I forgot to add those modifiers in for the.
It's all good. I didn't want to mess up. I just saw it switch
Yeah.
over. I was like, what's going on?
I saw the look on your face, and then I saw it switch back to spells, and I'm like, no, me. No.
Sorry.
I am in control. Okay, so those of you that are going back to the shop, sure enough, Belgos is still hanging out. He looks like he is no longer attempting to finalize his trance. Looks like he's kind of just going through some stuff in his stock, and he sees you enter, and he goes, "Ah, welcome back."
I would have also wanted to go with him, just a heads up.
Rock, go to.
Yeah, well, I'll go to the shop. We'll just leave the tavern.
Oh, you brought friends. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen another elf, he says to Mithrael.
Same.
I know. It's not very common in this side of
Mention it.
the area. He looks over to Grok. Oh, yeah, so is there anything that I can, help you with? Is there something in particular you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm gonna let them know we're looking for what was it, the 250 gold piece worth incense, and then 4 ivory strips worth 50 gold apiece.
You said Benson was there?
Yes, I am.
Oh. Oh. Yes, that's great. And he kind of walks over to you. So, it's been a long time since I've seen a man of class and stature move about the halls.
I was just here. 20 minutes ago, I was here.
He kind of looks over to you and then kind of looks back to, you seem so
I'm
familiar.
just messing with you, Belgos.
You seem so familiar and yet so mysterious. He kind of smiles.
I flip a thing of tea out of my coat and say, would you like some tea?
Sure, of course.
And then I flip another one out of
He kind of seems to already have tea on the boil, but you see him kind of just pour that out and make ready. He says 250 gold pieces of incense. He said 4 ivory strips, and he looks back to the halfling. Ah, the hand of Mudis. I thought I recognized you by your look. Very interesting. You're meaning to cast legend lore, I presume. He says as he walks behind the canter. What are you trying to investigate? He says as he pulls out a large box which is gilded and kind of sets it onto the table, and then you see him kind of pull out a couple of like a bundle of strips of ivory and set those onto the table.
Currently, we're just trying to get it for a future casting because money's tight, so we need something to have for trade.
Well, as I mentioned to your associate, and he gestures to Shambles, it would be more pleasurable for me if you had something that was worth trade instead of paying me in coin. Not much in the way of decent trade gets up this way, and I like having things about that are interesting to have. If you have any...
Belgos, I failed to mention. Do you do much trade in with Bluegate?
My trade comes from everywhere. Most of it came through Barod, but as of late I've had to shift my methods a bit. I have a direct seat, a placeholder seat on the Council of Bellum, which is helpful. My associate there, she is very helpful in getting parcels out to me, which is beneficial.
As it happens, I happen to be carrying a few of these red scarves, which are fetching a handsome bounty in Bluegate itself. And
I'll be all right.
as you were so interested in my associate's cloak, I'd be happy to tell you where more of the material could be found. I'm sure enough time hasn't passed.
I am aware of the the nature of the Crimson Scarves. And as you may well know, it is completely possible for the one who rules over them to watch out from the scarves. You are aware of that, right?
Of course.
So I'm not interested in those. In fact, I would ask you to leave those outside. Actually, although I don't think they're terribly interested in watching this particular. Um,
Talking about, I'm sure we got a lot of viewers right now.
Oh yeah, about 5.
I'm one of them.
Fair.
Yeah, okay. Not
Out of
interested in the dead dragon.
Huh?
I'll slink into the back.
Out of character, we don't have enough money for this.
So 250 plus 200. So we're looking at 450. He said
What,
that he's willing
what
to.
type of?
Go ahead.
Oh, go say. I'm
You
sorry.
go ahead. You.
What type of things are you looking for? Are you interested in?
Anything that's interesting. If I wasn't aware of the nature of those scarves, I might have fallen for that ploy. But I don't know. Based on his kind of.
Wasn't a ploy. I'm just trying to sell these.
Well, based on a steely facade, I wasn't really able to discern whether or not he was shocked or surprised. But you others seem to not have known the nature of those scarves, so I suppose I'll forgive that. But anything that's interesting, anything that's noteworthy, worth having
What
around.
about this? He'll reach in. I'll reach into my sleeve and I'll pull out a symbol, and it's a symbol of Ashmedea. I was like, "This is a symbol of Ashmedea. Have you heard of it?"
You are well indeed dealing with these cultists. Fighting scarves, collecting them, and dealing with their sigils. This is a curiosity. I suppose it would be of note. I could give you 1 ivory strip for this, I suppose. But I don't need more than 1. And he slides one of them out of the bundle and kind of sets it onto the table in front of you.
What if
I do have that.
you had a some tea that you poured out? How much of a fan of tea are you?
I am a big fan, but I am also able to acquire tea.
Oh, acquiring tea is one thing, but
Enjoying
making
tea
of
is
tea is the art.
enjoying tea
I-
is also a problem as well. But I don't suppose you are going to have the amount in stock that I would require.
Oh, I am not talking about stock. I'm talking about a contest. What if we were to have a contest? My tea versus your tea.
No. See, I've already forfeited that I'm not going to be competent or skilled. What I'm saying here is, and I do understand you being a chiromancer. It is required to game a bit here, but I am a merchant, and I have no choice but to follow the letter of the bargain. So therein to say, I'm not interested in contests, only deals.
Grok would say, I am willing to trade this cloak for the remainder of the materials
Stop.
plus. What?
Rookin already told you he has enough money to cover this. Stop throwing out all your magic.
I know how to cover. I can cover the incense at least.
So you
10
said, hold on.
Oh, okay. I didn't think we had
You got
enough.
10 necklaces at what, 25 or 50?
I
a piece?
already sold the necklaces. I got 2, which is enough to get. If trading credit is right, then I have 2 enough to get
Well,
the incense with my gold.
if you say, oh, I've got these 2, and he's like, I already have 10 of those.
You never find out. No.
Yeah, you should have bulked them in when you, instead of holding them back. But if you're kind of seeing the situation play out here, Brooklyn, how much coin do you have?
I only have 150.
Okay. So you can see that they're well short. Do you put forward the bargain you were throwing out, Andy?
Out of character, does anybody else have the money?
We've all got stuff. How about the skull of a dragon? Does that tempt you? How about poison?
The skull of a dragon does tempt me very greatly.
I've got the statue of Welda Gabriel.
I'm not very interested in that.
No one is.
I'll pull out a 5-foot skull and let it on the floor for him.
Okay. Ah.
It's still gooey. It's fresh.
Is this Hornbeck?
I point at Grok. I'm like, he's wearing him.
That is Hornbeck.
Yeah, it was. That was smooth brain the dumbass. Yeah.
This is much
I
more.
gave him that one.
This is much more interesting than the cloak. I would be very interested in this. I would say this and the symbol. And I suppose 50 gold pieces would be more than fair. Make an insight check.
Is it?
This is for Raya specifically. Make an insight check.
25.
He's definitely playing the mercantile game. He lumped on 50 gold pieces. It sounds like an add-on. I mean, just the way I said it intentionally. But yeah, he's literally just tacking that on just to make the deal just a little bit sweeter for him. Other than that, it's a fair deal. But 50 gold extra, he's putting that in to kind of make it sweeter towards him.
I think we could afford 10 gold on top of this.
I think 15 would probably be the minimum amount of gold I'd be willing to accept for this transaction.
That seems fair. Brooklyn, pay the man.
Okay, I'll give him 15 gold.
Takes the coin in his hand, kind of shuffles the coin and kind of puts it in his pocket. Like, it seems to be just dismissively. And as you kind of move away from the skull, he kind of walks around to it and kind of smiles. Oh, interesting. And reaches down, picks it up with no effort, and sets it onto the table. As he kind of does so, you can see that his robe's kind of tucked back away from his wrists. You can see that he's wearing gauntlets. Yeah, settles that onto the table.
Those gauntlets of fork lifting.
Gauntlets of ogre power. Yeah. Your presumption is that if you work with giants, you need to have the lifting capacity to make sure that they get the stuff they want. It's like, yeah, I want 100 pounds of tea. Yeah. Let me get that for you. I have no back anymore. But yeah, he sets that onto the table. He's got the Ashmodia's holy symbol. And yeah, he passes forward the incense and the remaining 3 ivory strips. Nansa said, "A pleasure doing business with you. And an astounding pleasure to meet with you. It's not so often we see arcanists of such high repute. Well, not for a couple of 100 years, anyway." You would note that it seems that Belgos has been here since the conglomerate or during the Civil War. So,
Who was the one a couple 100 years ago?
well, there was a renowned mage in the town of.
Sorry if you weren't ready for this. I thought you were hinting at something.
Well, no, I know the name of the town, but not off the top of my head. Oh fuck.
So I'm going to buy some decent.
Wilbur, what was
tobacco.
the proper name of Purple Light?
I don't know.
Yeah, same.
It was Saint something, right?
No, it was named after a bad person.
Asherod? Asherod?
Asheriad. That's right. He says, from the town of Asheriad, there was a mage here that lived there who would sometimes pass through. But
You on good terms?
Such a coincidence. We just killed that guy too. Literally not even 2 weeks ago.
I had heard he had kind of entered a state that was less than living.
Man, it's like everybody over here only knows 7 people.
It's a really weird dale. Just for everything north of Banser, up to Barod, and over to Purple Light. It's just a tight-knit community.
Inbreeders.
I wasn't going to say they were Hilljacks, but, if you want to put it in my mouth, it's fine. I'll take it.
I didn't say that.
They are Hilljacks, though. So, anyways, you acquire your itemry. Is there anything else that you want to do transactionally here?
Nope.
Okay.
I do want some tobacco.
Does he have any magic rings? I really like magic rings.
It's guy like magic rings.
I do have a couple of magic rings. However, the cheapest one I have available is currently 2,000 gold pieces.
What does that do?
It's a protective ring.
And what else do you have? in weird rings?
I've got a ring that, helps you in this winter climate.
That is a nice one.
It's also 2,000.
You know what? Shake 3,500 for the pair.
Ooh. Make a persuasion check.
19.
You said 3,500.
Yeah.
He grins. 35. 35. You can see that he's getting that 50 that he wanted from the first transaction.
Ryan, see if you can throw in some tobacco. I've been asking for like 10 minutes.
35, and a box of your okayest tobacco.
Fair enough. You see him settle the
Robot's
rings.
having a dick fit.
It seems like he pulls them out of his own gloves. Like,
Hold on, because that was important and you missed it.
what?
Yeah,
What?
that was
Repeat it.
What
I
did he
said
say?
your robot's having a dick fit.
He doesn't eat, sleep, or breathe, but he's having nicotine withdrawal.
He sets the two rings out. It seems like he pulls them out of his own glove. Make a Arcana check, Benson.
Can.
You're certain that it was some sort of extra dimensional space. Like he pulled them from nowhere. He was not wearing them, or he didn't slip them out of the base. He just pulled them out of his palm and set them down. And then he pulls out a box of tobacco. Accepts your coin.
Exactly 35 in gold and hand it to him.
Yep, he watches you count it, and he takes it.
I don't have to count it. He knows.
You see him slide it into a pocket or pouch on his side. Seems to disappear with the same kind of consistency
Same
as
way.
your bag. He nods his head. Anything else?
You want this sweet poncho? Not really, because I got to figure out how to break attunements now, or where I'm going to break them.
Fair. But yeah, ring of warmth, ring of protection.
Yeah.
Both require attunement. Alright. Cool. If you leave Belgos's general store and head back to the room, you didn't technically secure it yet, so are you buying your own room out then and not staying with the surveyor team?
That was. I
Sounded
think the
like
idea
he
was
wanted to cast
try
a
it out.
spell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will note in the common room, like the tap room, you'll note that 3 of the 5 knights have already disappeared, probably headed to their own room. The 2 knights that remain, the one that talked and another guy, and it seems like they're having a kind of candid conversation, smiling. The giants are all gone by the time you get back. Looks like they've already moseyed off. And the giant barkeep is kind of sitting back. It appears to be smoking a pipe, which is about as big as Shambles.
Amble's jaw falls off like a cartoon.
Cartoon.
Where do I get one of those?
I gotta get the nicotine. Ah!
Like in Hobbit where it comes in pints.
But yeah, if you order your room, you'll be given a common room. You'll very quickly note that the common room across from you is also of human size. It looks like there's a door within a door, so it can be very easily converted into a room for a giant, if need be. And entering in, you can see that there are a number of bunks. It doesn't take a smart individual to realize that the bunks could be kind of shifted and reassembled to form one massive bed, or 2 massive beds rather. Yeah, there's a total of 12 beds within, and kind of a big open space in the middle. Are you casting legend lore?
Yes.
Okay, and you're casting it on.
The item.
My sword.
Okay. Dias Santina is the name of the sword once you identify it through, or you use the legend lore spell on it. 1 second here. So you would
I added those ivory strips to my. Okay with everybody, or do you want them back for who bought them?
I don't think anyone else has a need for them.
I was just checking, trying to be polite.
you would know that
Very kind.
the sword was initially crafted as one of the sentinel swords used to bind away darkness during the War of Sword and Serpent. The sword is sentient. Inside resides the saint or Zadok Sentina. Each one of these swords has one of these maidens, these warrior maidens within it. The initial war queens of the that war. It was kind of lost for a time, and then it was taken up by an individual named Hawk in the nation of Parnak. It was utilized to defeat the Archbreaker, known as Cardiff, and stop him from taking over the 13 Gates of Ashtar, also known as Hell, or the equivalent of Demon Hell for this setting. It was then broken by Hawk in his conflict against the the white-faced one, Albacorus, the Mistake, and Hawk was presumed killed during that conflict. But based on what you're able to kind of recall of this sword, he was successful in his defeat of the entity, the white masked one, and he died with the broken sword in his hands. The sword was later collected by an individual named Jonathan Hopler. This was well over 500, 600 years ago. It was kept in a museum for a time until it was purchased outright by a conglomerate mage. Based on what you can see of this kind of transaction, the transaction was forced, not something that Hopler was willing to do. The sword was taken up north and used during the Civil War as an arcane source by the necromancer who ruled over Asheriod. It was used as a magical source to increase the potency of the necromantic beacon in the tower at Purple Light. So even just taking it from that place wounded the potency of that beacon. But yeah, you would know that it is a sentient sword, and the way that it's been broken, it seems a lot of the magic is currently locked on inside of the blade and is not able to be extracted. The weapon is not able to be activated, and the sentient sword, all it can do is sing.
I relay all that, of course. Do I know if there's any way to unlock that power?
Yes, so you would know that the sword needs to be purified in radiant fire for it to become whole once again.
Radiant fire? You mean like a phoenix?
Like a phoenix.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all.
Rickland got his quest.
Yeah, Rickland's like,
Boy, I know she doesn't know that other sword. She's gonna be pissed.
no. Zadok was not one
Another
of the...
sword safely in a museum.
Zadok was not one of the Sentinel swords. Yes, they're saints, and a lot of elvish saints do end up becoming swords, but no, they're not friends. But yeah, that's what you would glean from your casting of Legend Lore.
There you go, sir.
And before next week, I will make sure I have a handout for you with all of the things I said just then. But I can't seem to find it right now, so...
It's okay.
It's fine. Well, after that, are we ready to go to bed?
Yeah? Okay, if that's the case, you awake the next morning in Voshwindir. Anywhere in particular that you want to go before exiting the town proper? Do you wish to reconvene with your guide at all? You would have basically been able to find out from conversations, either with the gnome or fire giant barkeep, um, that the passageway number 1 leads out to the Temple of Haziel.
Didn't Raya want to talk to the town
Yeah.
leader guy?
I'm gonna grab Benson. We'll head over, find our guide, and then go talk to the town lead.
Okay, so if you go to find your guide, he meets you, and he says, "Of course," and he takes you to 17 again. 2 guards up. Go ahead.
Just to check, he was going to continue adventuring with us through this, right?
Yeah, he said he would. I just, again,
Okay.
if you didn't want him, you didn't have to keep him.
No, I couldn't remember if he was going with us or not. But
Fair enough.
If he's going, I want
Yeah.
him to come with us.
He said
He knows where he's going.
Donovan said he would lead you through the heat of Haziel. That's right.
Okay.
And yeah, the frost giant leads you to the what's listed as number 17, which again is a massive manor house kind of carved into the stone. As you approach the 2 guards, they step to the side, turn their shields outwards, and move their spears around to the other sides of the shields, basically opening up a space between the 2 of them. And the doors kind of open up when they do that, shifting like as if the movement of the shields is actually controlling the movement of the doors and those moments. It opens to a massive foyer, kind of open space. Looks like it's mostly carved out of the same kind of glassy stone substance that not only the strange Undaunted was made out of, but also the Berserker axes are made out of. It looks like the stairs that kind of lead up into the chamber proper are also forged out of this strange glassy substance. And you can see descending from the steps a frost giant lined with, or kind of wearing very massive, very ornate robes, all kind of a white and black coloration, mostly dark, but with like white accents that kind of pop from the attire. He steps down, his hands kind of hidden inside of the sleeves of his robes, and as he kind of looks to you, his voice speaking kind of booming in his chamber, he says, "Ah, you are the ones who came to my abode last night. You are the ones who met with the young one out on the mountain surface?" Your frost giant companion nods his head.
Yep.
"You may leave us," he says to your guide. He looks to you, Mishrael.
I'll meet him outside or rejoin with the others.
Okay. So the giant leaves with you, or leaves out beside you, and then the Jarl kind of looks to you. "So, I was forewarned, that you would have information for me regarding giants that have been going missing on the southern slopes."
Yeah, and I just give him all the information. We found a barn with one of your kin strapped down. They were making some form of potion. Benson could tell you better about that. I would give the potion to him. This is what we were able to recover, and we burned the barn on our way out.
Bodies are bodies. They're not important to our people. Neither are their remnants. But they were not bodies before they were taken from us. Regarding these items, it might draw the ire of others, but I suggest that you keep them. In death, at least they will be able to give you strength.
Neat. I'll stow it.
You are certain that their laboratory is ruined, that this process will not continue?
We can't say for sure. That specific lab was completely destroyed.
But there might be
Whether or not
others.
there are others, we don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like you both say the kind of same thing at the same time. And he nods his head. Very good. Well then,
Benson can explain it better, but there were definitely runic markings around it, and if you were to come across those, perhaps it would help you find other such places easier.
the Jarl kind of turns to the halfling. Did halfling came with you?
Yeah,
But-
I'm on.
And he says, "Benson, the hand of Mudus," and he kind of looks down to you and kind of drops down a little bit to kind of more casually inspect you. Ah, it is
I bow deeply.
it is a blessing to receive such a powerful mage within our halls. I aspire to be as great a mage as you, though my endeavors are more in the evocation school rather than the fortunes and favors that you perceive. He
Yeah. Good.
nods. I also hit like a dump truck. You're like,
For sure.
oh my god. He says, very good. Well, if I am to be made aware of everything present in my town, I am of the understanding that there are surveyors here from Bellum who wish to construct an iron road between Barod and here. I find this to be problematic, as I have heard reports that Barod has fallen.
We actually ran into that surveying crew last night, and it seemed as though they were to say it would be quite impossible to run their road up here. But you are correct that Barod has been destroyed.
Yes, I have been told that the surveyors are present, but I am a bit perturbed. According to my reports, they've been here for 3 to 4 days, and they have yet to attempt to make an audience with me. I am a bit confused. I suppose I will have to send missive to Bellum in hopes of making sure their audiences are a bit more formal next time they send one. Making shape of ice and stone is no difficulty for the frost giants and the fire giants of the wind ears. Whatever path they require, we could forge. That said, if my understandings are accurate, is it true that you wish to pass through the heat of Hazil and make your way to the temple?
With your blessing, yes. We have one of Hazil's followers with us. He's on a quest.
My blessing is not important when it comes to the matters of the Great Bird. The Great Bird's blessings are all that matter. You have my blessing to pass through my town, to pass through my halls, to pass through the Narrows, as you so desire. As long as you are with the Hand of Mutis, you also have the pleasure of entering into any of our libraries. Although the books may be a little unwieldy for one of your stature.
Hilarious. Vincent, get to read books.
Big books! He,
And I would also inform him that we have cleared Barod and it is ready to be reestablished. If that has anything to do with him.
So the rumors of the Great White Dragon falling is also true.
Yes, we have slain it, brought it here, and its head is presumably on display at the Curios, the shop.
It is unfortunate that the town of Barrett fell, but I will be frank. The management of that town was waning in competency well before it was attacked.
I believe you.
Most of my militia are out afield, dealing with the dragon spawn and servants of the dragon. As I have been made aware this very early morning, our efforts are going well. The youngling leads my giants quickly and deftly through the icy terrain and is bringing them low. And if they are without their master, I presume that they'll be routed in short order. That said, the heat is not a forgiving place. I would make sure that you are prepared for very dire temperatures the closer you get to the temple.
Will the temperature be increasing or decreasing?
You are going into the Ruby Eye, the heart of this mountain. A number of times the dwarfs from Bonrock have made pilgrimages here for the true immensity, temperature present within the Temple of Haziel and the heat of Haziel. Depending on where you stride, you may be disrobing quite a bit.
Are there any specific recommendations you could give us on how and where to travel? I assume our guide will know these also. But...
I am certain that the one thing that is utmost importance to you and your kin would be water. You can acquire much of it here. If you have the capabilities of storing things in extra-dimensional spaces, I would advise packing as much snow as you can.
We're fine.
I believe Benson here actually has an ever-flowing chalice. Or
Yeah, dude,
bottle.
we're good.
Ah, we had one some time ago. It was taken from us, but it is not important. We now...
Don't show him. Do not show him.
Nope, nope, it's not going nowhere.
We just have it.
It is a boon to be sure, he says, but we have no need of it any longer. We have devised methods to ensure that the Aguasea's tears fall eternally. He kind of gestures out the door, kind of in the direction of the waterfall.
Is that the shiny stuff in the river?
The waterfall that descends down into the pool. He's referring to that as Aguasea's tears.
Okay.
Do you ask about the shiny stuff in the river?
I do, yeah.
Okay. It is residuum.
Like what I just said.
It is residuum. It is collected there in the pool. We are able to filter it out of the rock above. We typically store it within our libraries and sanctums. We sometimes will sell
Pet
us.
Benson because he's freaking out a little bit.
We will sometimes.
Easy boy.
We will sometimes sell some to Belgos, the merchant within the town that's been allowed to work established here within. And as a gift, I suppose, to a most powerful mage, I suppose. He reaches back towards a shelf of his size, kind of pulls out something that's pretty small in his hand, but you think once it gets to your hand, it'll be pretty decent size. And he kind of hands Benson a brick. It's about brick sized, a little longer. And as you kind of take it into your hand, you're realizing that it is just solid residuum.
It's like somebody just
it's
had brick cocaine. I'm like, holy cow!
Yeah, it's like a crystalline kind of structure of residuum. He says that is approximately 500 gold pieces worth of residuum. That should favor you in any spell casting or item creation you may have.
Don't know what I can do to thank you, sir. I don't have anything of that sort.
Absolutely not necessary. I would ask that if time permits, after your dealings with Haziel, that you come back and give me a fortune reading.
Oh,
no.
Oh fuck. Oh fuck.
I'm in a scarecrow!
500 miles away.
And then Shamble's like, I'm not a scarecrow anymore, I'm a giant!
What? I'm sorry?
We got you a new body. It's gonna be cool. Give me a minute.
Nothing.
Oh.
He
I
said,
already have a new bike.
You're about to be a Jarl.
yeah, you would know that your full reading would take some time, and it's not something that you'd be able to do here.
I was busy making a joke about Benson's balls.
We would love to come back and see your wonderful town again. It's been nothing but hospitable.
Well, thank you.
But we're gonna take our leave and get the fuck out of here. We got a bird to kill.
He says adios and giant. And yeah.
Why's everybody so intent on killing him? Like,
I don't think John heard me say it.
Every word's out of everyone's mouth. Let's go kill this bird.
You're wrong. It's just been me and Jeremy.
It's mostly been
For
those.
sure.
But you guys have a majority. Like anything you guys say, the whole party essentially goes.
No, it's really not.
That is not true at all. Andy is very much a naysayer to all of our ideas.
And Chody reported one of them to the cops one time.
Yes, I did.
Not
I
cool.
didn't know that part.
I didn't either.
We are regularly kept in check.
More than readily.
Just because we voice, you know, the
Um,
Our
ideas.
jobs.
if you continue down the halls and out of the town, after kind of gathering your gear, the northwestern side of the town, there is another hall that leads outwards, and this is where your guide. Why did I put down my notes? Oh boy, I already have it. Imgrund would say that is where we are heading, and you would see that the portal way that leads into this specific hall has a pair of wings on either side of the doorway, and at the top, the head of the bird kind of rampant, and he kind of stops and looks back at you. The heat of Hazil is a very treacherous passway. I assure you, there will be matters we will deal with. There are fire snakes. There are kobolds. There are salamanders and other such creatures that travel about through this specific area. The fire giants have patrols through here as well, and typically try to keep these creatures at bay. But, as is the nature of these creatures, they are drawn to the heat and the temple like they are. I assume you have some sort of analogy that you would use that might be beneficial. Donovan is full of them. He shuffles and heads on down the way. And I actually said, real quick, I apologize. I said that this guy's last name was the name of the town. And I realized that I did that. His last name is actually Seafoam. It's Imgrund Seafoam. So should make sure that's notated. Well, he's going to be with you for a little while. So, okay. Does anybody have any last ditch things that they want to purchase before we enter into the heat?
I do want to pose the question: should I swap into the Juggernaut body before we keep going?
Or go buy the crystal body?
That sounds expensive.
That sounds fireproof, though.
Out. Zero input. I'm feeling I stay in this body.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Skirmisher it is.
fireproof.
They're all made of metal. Anything but the scarecrow should be fine.
Yeah. They're metal and the scarecrow is kindling.
How much does that brick of Rosetta weigh?
Probably no more than like a pound. Half a pound.
Okay.
It's
I
like
don't know if this is gonna be like gold bars.
no, it's like a regular. It feels like an actual brick. Like
Ingots.
no, it looks like an ingot, but it feels like a regular like red brick.
Okay,
Weight wise,
pretty light. Not an issue.
That would
Got it.
That would be more than a pound, half pound then instead of pound.
yeah, about a pound. Do bricks weigh more than a
Not
pound?
enough to be an issue for Benson. I have no idea. Google it.
I haven't weighed a brick in a while.
Not amazing.
We'll go pound.
Please
Pound
go.
fine.
Hey,
Who's the weighting, Grant?
I can see him googling it.
About 5 pounds. Go with
No,
one.
it's a pound. You said it's
The-
magic.
it's even lighter than a brick. Yeah, it weighs about a pound.
Yeah, there we go.
Magic. It's literally made of magic.
Magic technically has no weight.
It's literally fairy dust. It's literally heresy. But yeah.
Can't wait till Joe to get to build his own gauge tower.
Tower made of magic.
Holy shit.
But it's just gonna be a big band, and like each of the fingers are floors you can go up in. They're all towers.
Each of the fingers are towers for your buddies.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's 5 of us.
Who gets the thumb? Is it Grok? And why isn't it Grok if it's not?
Raya gets the
Turtle.
middle finger.
That seems appropriate.
Anyway, Imgren leads you into the heat.
Because I'm the tallest.
So it's still cold.
Yeah, buddy.
It's still cold throughout. But what you're noticing mainly is that there's a certain kind of lingering kind of. It's not exactly steam and it's not exactly mist. It's more like everything around you, including those of you that breathe, kind of seems to be emitting or kind of generating a very similar kind of look to you exhaling breath and it being visible in a cold area. It seems that the walls are kind of generating this kind of steam as well. This visible kind of just air. And it does feel a bit muggy after about 10 or so minutes entering into the heat. You will note, too, that the paint on the exterior had a certain kind of frostiness to it, and instead here there's a certain kind of slickness to the paint on the walls here. But very similarly, there are red and blue giant folk on paintings on the walls here, and they seem to be kind of doing things together and kind of working in tandem. Looks like some are kind of farming mammoths, some are building buildings, erecting pillars inside of massive halls, and you can see that they're also all kind of praying to this massive, giant, glowing orb. But the more you see the glowing orb, you realize it's not perfectly circular. It has more of an egg shape to it. Yeah, it starts to get really, really hot. I'm assuming we're packing away the winter clothing at this point. We're talking pretty good temperate-wise. And you travel for about an hour in this passageway with the heat kind of getting to a point where it's stymieing. You can see that Imgrind is exhausted in this process and is sweating quite profusely. His hair is just kind of like matted down on his back, and you can see that it's like it looks like it's thick with dampness. And he's every so often kind of leaning on his spear and kind of stopping. When you were walking through the Narrows, he was asking you if you wanted to rest, and now it's more of a reverse. It's like, do you need a second? And he's like, yeah, hold on, let me take a breather.
What's the ground like?
Stone.
Is there any sand, or do we see any dirt, or anything
No,
like that?
strangely,
Rock.
yeah, perfectly clean rocks. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much in the way of dust through here.
Cool.
All right.
If he needs to take time, well, we're following him.
I'm also going to be popping out the decanter of water and giving drinks out for whoever needs it frequently, making sure everybody stays hydrated.
Okay. So this one is a little less effectual towards shambles than the ice and the icy nature. Your joints aren't kind of freezing up, and you aren't kind of becoming exhausted because of that. So shambles for this first initial heat run, I'm not going to make you check against it, but for everyone else, I'm going to need you to go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw. And the funniest part is if Mishrael was still in his old Raya body, he wouldn't have to. Because
Thanks a lot.
That would be fun.
huh? What's that, Shody?
I soaked myself with water. Would that help?
You're getting advantage if you're drinking water. So
Okay.
I was gonna say, since you're passing the water and decanter around, and everyone's kind of getting a nice, face full of
everybody's
splash, then yeah, everyone can go ahead and make that Constitution saving throw with advantage.
Does the Ring of Sustenance help down here?
You don't have to eat anything.
I don't have to drink either.
Well, it's not so much the drinking for you don't have to drink for sustenance. This is more of a drinking for cooling the body down. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Are you drinking?
Yeah, I would be if I felt like I was sweating all my water out. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone looks good. Yeah, you all managed to kind of pass through. You can definitely tell that Ibgrind is suffering. He's not having a good time of it. The presumption is he did not make his save. But yeah, a bit exhausted, but still trekking on. You get to a point where the hall ends and kind of opens up into a massive chamber. The first thing that you see in the massive chamber, directly out in front of you, is a bunch of water. and it immediately looks refreshing. Like it looks bright blue, perfectly pristine. And you see Imgrund as you kind of look at it, and he says, "Do not fall for it, friends. Do not enter into this water or drink it. It is foul. It burns hotter than a bonfire. I watched a man fall in, and his skin peeled from his muscles."
Soup.
In the pool, kind
I don't know how many bottles do we?
Just your body.
out of character note, you would note that the temperature of the water is the thing that is the problem. It's not the water itself being acidic. It's
Magically hot.
yeah. If you're familiar with, I think it's Yosemite. There's
Like hot springs.
yeah, the hot springs that are like so hot it's real bad. But you can also see kind of like discoloration in the stone underneath, kind of like bright rainbow color patternings as the stone is kind of effectively melted inside.
Igneous.
Yeah, and then you can see that in the center of this pool, kind of coming up out of it, there's a stone platform, and sitting on the stone platform, in kind of like a kneeling position, is a giant with both of his hands out to the sides, kind of palms out, and his head kind of down, eyes closed. It's like he's offering something out over the pool. To the left side and the right side of the pool, the pass kind of goes around, and you can see on the far end there's another door like this one. You can also see that there are smaller doors on the western and eastern sides herein, and the water is so clear and pristine you can actually see all the way to the bottom, and looking at the bottom, it's very strange to denote that the weird discoloration and kind of brightening of the color scheme of the stone, that kind of igneous look, it appears to have kind of created a pattern, or the pattern has always been there, but it looks like there's a massive bird of bright yellows, oranges, and reds at the bottom, kind of centered with the sun piece as the pillar that goes up. Imgren kind of, we usually go left. It kind of looks to the past that goes.
I'm gonna cast precipitation on him just to give him a flow of wind, just to kind of try to cool him down a little more.
You see him kind of go, oh, it's very good. The water has been most helpful. And he reaches down for the decanter. You hand it to him, and he just pops it open, and and he's loving it. It's like a dog jumping on a hose, and he closes it off and hands it back to you.
Nice.
Well, let's be on. Anybody have any matters of interest present here?
I can't see anything in the giant.
Staring at Rooklyn.
Sorry, say that again, Jody.
I can't see anything in the giant's hands. You said it looks like he's offering something.
They're out and open, but they're massive. So he's not the statue's not giant size. It's like statue size for a giant. So like, if a human statue is like 15 feet tall and it's like massive, this thing's like 30 feet tall, and like it's got a outward stretched out hand span of like 45 feet. So like its hands are, you could jump at them and like walk around on them if you could get out that far. But yeah.
Can I ask him what the statue is?
It is. Kind of wipes some sweat from his brow. It is the gift giver of the Ashwindir. On the other side of the temple, heading towards their hall, there is one similar to this, but the ice, the pool is frozen over.
You wouldn't have a problem if I took a closer look, would you?
This is a sacred place, but there are no rules or regulations to my knowledge beyond the very dreadful circumstances of entering into the water.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. I'm gonna fly up there and take a look at the hands.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing strange about them. They're decently carved stone, pretty ornate. You can see that the statue itself is on his knees. He's kind of leaned down over his lower half, his hands outstretched just over the water a bit. As you're kind of fluttering there, you can see that where his knees are, make a perception check. The music box is apparently me.
19.
You would note that at the point where the legs kind of meet, there's a small gap. And it looks like it might be traversable. Like you could enter into the statue via the
I
knee,
need everyone to turn around for a minute.
the knee region
Nope,
slash
I'm watching.
near crotchal region.
Staring directly at you.
Oh, I'll fly up into the crotch.
Alright.
Enter it.
Hold on, I'll give everyone a salute
Okay.
and all.
As you kind of move towards it and kind of get closer to the statue, you can feel that this thing is generating heat. Like
Bet it is.
there's so much heat being generated from this region.
Area.
So much so that I need even you, to make a Constitution saving throw. You'll have advantage for it because of your nature, but yeah, it doesn't seem to affect you. But you can definitely feel like your joints kind of loosening out a bit, and
Yeah,
like,
I'm beating sweat right now.
yeah, the vitae is kind of beating a bit, like, and you kind of come down to that region, and again, the way it's kneeling, you're kind of landing on the platform it's on, and then kind of stepping in between the knees. It's not the crotch; it's that the crotch is a little higher. You're basically walking under it, if that helps.
You said there was a crevice where the legs meet, and he needed to enter it.
Anyway, you would see that it enters into a small space, and it's probably about 10 feet high by 15 feet wide, circular, besides the point that you entered in. And there is a stairwell that descends down. The entirety of this place feels like walking into a baking oven. It's hot.
How far down does it seem to go?
You cannot see the bottom with your 60-foot dark vision.
I'll try to step. I don't want to separate too far. Are they going behind the statue? Is that the idea?
They're walking around the statue to the back, yeah.
I'm quick. I'll jog down the stairs.
Okay. You descend all the way down, probably about 200 or so feet down. When you get to the bottom, you can realize, about 60 feet above it, that the stairwell seems to land, this landing, onto a pile of debris. Looking at the debris, you would realize that the debris appears to be bones. Humanoid size, like human size, but there also seems to be scattered throughout smaller bones of humanoid creatures and larger bones of probably giant kin and their ilk.
I don't see any other entrances.
So what I was going to say is that's at the 60-foot height. Above that, you can see that it kind of goes to a bigger room, like a chamber beneath. Once you kind of get to a point where you're exiting out of the well and kind of entering into the room, you'd realize that the room itself is about 30 feet high, and it seems to go out for farther than your eyes can see in all directions. And it seems that the floor for everything that you can see is just a charnel pit of bones, all as far as you can see in all directions. I assume you stop there and kind of look at it concerned, right?
Curious what the
Make
hell's going on.
a perception check for listening.
22.
You hear kind of a rattling sound somewhere off in the distance, north-ish of you, in the shadows, well in the shadows. But it sounds like something is either rustling about in the bones, or something is kind of moving through the bones.
Rank Corpid.
It's pretty cool.
Directly at the bottom of the stairs, though, that's the important part, you see a bag just kind of sitting there right at the base of the steps. It's like on the last step.
I'll grab it.
Okay,
Is it a heavy bag?
You rush down and grab a hold of the bag, right?
Yeah.
You pick it up. It weighs about 20 or so pounds. Pretty heavy, but not super heavy. But you grab it and you head back up, or
Yeah, I'm heading out.
okay.
I'm not dealing with the rattler right this second.
All right. When you kind of are heading up, I'm assuming you take a quick peek inside.
Yeah, I'll rummage through it once I'm, a good 80 feet up the stairs.
You can't see into the bag. It looks like a complete vacuumous space. When you
Mhm.
reach in, you can't really feel anything because you don't know what to call for.
I'll close it up and
Oh
head,
boy.
head out the back door.
All right. Well, you have to come out through the knees.
Oh, it's funnier.
I wish you could, but you can't. That's
Fine.
not the way I made it. So yeah, the others. There are 2 doors on the sides of this chamber, this massive chamber, and then there's the door that he's leading you to. Do you ask or stop in these side chambers or no?
Brooklyn is intent on getting there, so he's not paying attention to nothing else in any of these buildings.
Okay.
Ask him about him, but I'm not terribly interested in
They
slowing him down at all.
They are venting holes. They lead into the mountains and then up out to the surface, the summits of the mountains. They allow the hot air to escape this space. If it weren't for these passageways, Voshwindir would be a sauna.
You wouldn't, No, that wouldn't make sense. Yeah, let's keep moving.
Very good.
If you need to take a minute, catch your breath, and have another drink of water, by all means.
Yep. Whoosh. Just kind of okay here. But yeah, continues on. As he comes around the chamber and heads out into the next hall, and you all follow, you can kind of hear like a bubbling sound coming from the water. It's not like a lot. It's just kind of like a maybe 20-second kind of burst of just bubbles around the waterway. And then you head in.
Yes.
I'll keep an eye on the water while the others go on.
Yep, it lasts for about 20 seconds and then it just isn't bubbling anymore. Alright. Continuing into and through the remainder of the heat, several more of these venting chambers are present. I need you to go ahead and roll me a d20 for random encounters. Pick your
Grok's
representative.
turn.
Sorry.
As you're kind of coming up to a point, it seems that up ahead, maybe about 100 or so feet, which Zadok would be able to denote. Or sorry, not Zadok. Oh, he's not that anymore. Mishrael would be able to denote that about 100 or so feet there's an opening, and you've moved.
I'm still using the title.
That's fine. That's fine. But some distance, you've traveled some distance since you were at the point where the pool was. There are a number of these vents, probably about 6 of them, between you and the exit. And up ahead, you can see kind of a glowing red light, kind of emanating on the sides of the walls, kind of exiting out of these holes. And as that happens, you see Imgrund kind of drop down a bit and pull the spear up, so the point is up to like right here, and the shaft is back behind him. And he says to you, he says, "Salamanders, ready yourself." And we will begin next session with the random encounter where you fight a bunch of salamanders.
Frog things.
All right. Thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll pick up from there next session. Sounds good. All right. Stop on the stream.